If you spend much time on the side of the internet that's concerned about free speech, government overreach, and mass immigration, it won't be long before somebody mentions the risk of CBDCs to you. CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency, and I won't lie, I'm no expert in economics, it's one thing I'm trying to learn about. Henceforth, I thought I'd make this video in order to learn myself and also to introduce others into this idea to see if it's a wacky conspiracy theory or there is some legitimate concern. So before I get started, bear in mind this is just a brief overview of the issue. If you do know more information or are missing out any key dimensions, please do add them down below. Now, to put it in a nutshell, the reason people are concerned by CBDCs is because they believe the government will have total control of the money supply and how and where people can spend said money. In explaining this, people normally start with the transfer from our currency being backed by gold to a fiat currency. Fiat currency essentially means paper cash, and governments made this decision so national central banks could provide stability in the market and avoid the volatility of gold prices. However, critics of this move state that it's allowed central banks to manipulate money supply, inflate assets, and erode currencies where they see fit. Libertarian types have argued that this gives central banks undue and undemocratic political power. This is why Liz Truss was ousted after such a short time. She went to war with the Bank of England and the Bank of England won. Yet this is just stage one of the supposed control that central banks have over the populace. After all, cash does give quite a lot of freedom. It's anonymous for a start. You can spend it where you like. You can give it to whomever you like whenever. Yet governments and central banks are pushing towards CBDCs as they state they are safer, you can guard against fraud and financial crime, there's a higher level of trust as you have records of every exchange, and you can stimulate monetary policy. Yet the immediate concerns with this are quite obvious, things such as cyber attacks, technological breakdowns, central banks having even more power to manipulate the economy and so on. Yet the real concern kicks in when you realise that central bank digital currencies will allow governments and central banks to have total control over every exchange that's made. The concern here is that in a woke era, that would allow the government to control what you can buy, where and when. Now that may sound a bit dystopian and wacky, but remember the Chinese already have this in the form of their social credit system. This system allows the government to essentially block people from buying essential goods if they view them as an undesirable. Now, if you apply this in a Western world, with leaders like Keir Starmer, you can see a future where you may well be restricted from making purchases if you attended a protest march, said something homo or Islamophobic on Twitter 5 years ago, or refused some mandatory woke training at your workplace. I know it may seem a bit far-fetched, but when you look at the recent behaviour of Keir Starmer, and also the fact that Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank, admitted in a prank call there would be controls over CBDCs, you can see this isn't too far from being a reality. This is why many people believe in cryptocurrencies, as they argue they're decentralised, untraceable, and free from government and central bank control. Now, I thought I'd briefly cover this because it could be a key dimension to our political and economic future, so do let me know your thoughts on it all down below and do consider subscribing to the channel.